Want an easy way to see if you could save money on car insurance? Geico gives you 3. Call 1-800-947-AUTO. Go online to geico.com or stop by the Geico office nearest you. 3 ways you could save 15% or more.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugatz podcast.
I have scoured sports, scoured it, and found nothing. So today should be fun. We enjoy the days when there isn't anything to be beholden to, and we could just wander around talking about Rick Ross and whatever else is going on in pop culture. But here is this story from the LA Times. John Jones and Daniel Cormier have a fun fight this weekend. If you're not familiar with UFC, I think these guys hate each other more than anybody in sports hates each other. Like if I had to nominate in sports 2 guys who hate each other, who would I nominate? I think my first nominee would be Daniel Cormier and John Jones. Like they have been killing each other, talking about each other very poisonously for a long time now. And the other day, an interviewer asked John Jones with Daniel Cormier, hey, can you extend some respect? Is there anything you want to say to Daniel Cormier? Can the relationship ever be repaired? And John Jones's response was, bleep you, DC. They're just on the air, and he didn't say bleep. That's what he said. So no, there's no repairing this. But John Jones, and this is interesting because Daniel Cormier is not the fighter that John Jones is. John Jones might be the best fighter I've ever seen in the UFC, but he's plagued by all sorts of demons.
Right.
And something's happened between John Jones and Dana White because they haven't talked in a year. And this is John Jones's quote. Dana White has reached out to me on at least 4 occasions, and I haven't answered any of his calls or any of his text messages. That's the reason we haven't spoken. And so the reason I want to bring this up is because in the individual sports, you can actually do this to a boss. And there are no consequences because he's big gate. People want to watch him fight. He's one of the few headliners that UFC has because he's polarizing and he's, had all sorts of demons.
Sure. Doesn't have to answer to anyone, really, when you think about it.
But that's pretty crazy to think about, is it not? Put this up on the poll, Guillermo. Are you surprised that John Jones hasn't felt the need to speak to Dana White or answer any of his calls? Because this is an unusual thing. And I wanted to tie it into the Kyrie Irving stuff because there are reports out there. I don't know if they're true or not, but there are reports out there saying that Kyrie's not returning any of Cleveland's calls. And so my question to you guys is, because Kyrie doesn't have any real power in this situation, because he's under contract, and because LeBron James is the power broker on that team.
Right.
The only way for Kyrie Irving to have real power is to make a mess. Correct?
Yeah.
To have real power over the Cleveland organization. How unprofessional are you willing to be?
Right. Make a mess of the entire situation.
And so I wonder, what's the next move here? Is the next move, because we haven't heard from Kyrie yet, is the next move Kyrie ripping LeBron publicly? Is the next move, because in order to have power in this situation, you have to be willing to not answer the phone calls and make the mess because you're under contract. Start being insubordinate in a way that gets you fined on things. Like, if it's true that he's not answering Cleveland's calls.
Right.
Would that be sort of counterintuitive because now you're making a total mess and you're not incentivizing Cleveland to do right by you by any stretch of the imagination? They can send you to Sacramento just to spite you if you continue making this even worse.
Well, but wait a minute here. Let's start here. Kyrie didn't make this bad. Kyrie didn't leak this. Kyrie tried to handle this the best way that you can handle displeasure, which is go tell your bosses about the displeasure. Nobody knows that your trade value is going down because they don't know publicly that you're unhappy there.
Right.
And then you shop him on draft day the way that they did, or evidently he was hurt by them being shopped on draft day.
I think that's the sequence that's important. He was hurt that he was being shopped on draft day, and then maybe that inspired him to walk into Dan Gilbert's office and said, "Okay, he's trying to trade me. I don't want to play with him anymore."
Well, but how about this? How about this situation? If you're Kyrie Irving, and because you're under contract and you don't have any real power, do you believe you have the truth on your side? Because are you making a mess if the truth is hey, the reason I asked to be traded is because LeBron wanted me traded. If you say that in your words, if Kyrie Irving says that in his words, how unprofessional is he being? If it's the truth.
I think that's the way, if indeed all that is true, I think that's the way Kyrie should do it, and I do find that to be a professional way to do it. Imagine if you're Kyrie Irving and you're sitting there, and you've been by LeBron's side. After Cleveland promised you this was your organization, they got LeBron back, and I'm sure Kyrie was happy about that because he's playing relevant basketball and winning NBA championships. You hit all the big shots the year they win the championship, including the biggest shot at Golden State, and you hear LeBron James wants to trade you right around draft time. Wouldn't you be upset?
Has a teammate ever ripped LeBron publicly? Have we ever heard that? Do we have any proof of a teammate or even a former teammate crushing LeBron James on anything? Because I'm not sure there's a way for Kyrie Irving to do this, Stugotz. Given the way the framework works with the media and fans, they tend to side with management. They tend to side with authority, the player. Not honoring his contract is something that's frowned upon by the environment that surrounds these guys. What does he do? What does he do that can be received well? What can Kyrie Irving, if you're Kyrie Irving right now?
I think what you just suggested, man. I really do. Just step up to a microphone and say, listen, I am hurt. I'm upset. I helped this guy win championships. I helped him win the most important championship of his career, and they tried to trade me a couple of months ago. And when I found out about that, I went to our owner and said, I'm tired of playing with him. I'm tired of his stranglehold on this organization, and I want to be traded. I think a lot of fans would understand that.
Carlos Boozer, back when the Cavs were talking about drafting LeBron or just recently drafted LeBron, Boozer said, we have better players than him at his position already on our team, though.
Okay, but wait a minute. That's not.
I also have Al Horford's sister ripping LeBron
Not
James.
a teammate. Not a teammate.
Okay,
but Carlos Boozer was a teammate.
Yeah, but that's
and
Carlos.
The players at this position, I mean, he has a point. Ricky Davis, Jeff McGinnis, Darius Miles, Eric Williams, and Ira Newble.
Ira.
Dennis Rodman questioned his toughness.
Not a teammate. Not playing the game.
Did Roy just mutter "ol" apostrophe OL apostrophe Ira? Guillermo, put this on the poll. Is someone named Ira Newbill black? Not is he actually black. Not is Ira. I know that Ira Newbill is black. I think he's black. I'm not actually sure now that I think about it.
I'm on it.
You guys thought Carlos Boozer's quotes were bad.
Uh-oh.
Here's I talked to you about that logjam at small forward for the 2002 Cleveland Cavaliers.
Hold on a second.
Ira is indeed black.
Thank you.
All right, so Darius Miles.
But the name Ira Newbill's not a. Put it this way, actually, Guillermo. Is the name Ira Newbill a black name?
It's like a name. It's like a country club name. Like, hey, I'm going to play golf with Ira. Then afterwards, we're going to have dinner with the entire Newbill family.
The Newbills? Well, you concocted a whole fictitious scenario of a lovely evening. A lovely evening with the Newbills.
Here's what Darius Miles had to say before being teammates with LeBron.
You're not helping me. You're giving me guys. You're giving me the collar. Carlos Boozer is
He was
a terrible
future
talent evaluator.
Darius Miles.
All right.
I don't think you can just bring in a high school player and really just think your team's going to turn around like that. If he comes in, he can just hop on our bandwagon, and hopefully we can do something big. So Darius Miles saying, jump on my shoulders. I'll carry us. Just make a contribution here and there.
Anyone in the history of sports ever had bigger or broader shoulders than Darius Miles? Go check him out.
Broad shoulders.
Yeah, they're broad.
George Hill also has pretty broad shoulders.
Wait a minute.
And he's a point guard.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, George Hill. He's got a weird thing with his shoulders.
Hold on. Let's backtrack for
Dwight
a second.
Howard.
Hold on a second.
Good one.
First of all, I don't believe that Darius Miles has broad shoulders. Darius Miles was a stick figure. He was a Q-tip.
Ira Newbill's doing a lot of good stuff, by the way.
Guillermo, put this on the poll. Did Darius Miles have broad shoulders? I like what Mike just said, though, about Darius Miles and the Darius Miles quote. If Darius Miles were better, how great would it be if he could actually utter these words? Hey, LeBron, just jump on my back. I'll Darius. No!
Wow.
No,
That's
a good joke. How can that get the loser game show sound? If he were better, if he says to LeBron, I'll Darius. Don't worry. No.
ESPN Radio is presented by...
I'll Darius to glory. I'll Darius to a championship.
Try again.
No.
How Darius you?
Oh, no!
Oh!
Hey, buddy, the wait is over. It's the 2017 Sui Awards, starting August 21st. The Sui Awards. Dan Le Batard.
What is the most pathetic you've felt moved to tears by something inanimate in the movies, like a robot or E.T.?
Wilson.
Really, a volleyball?
Wilson.
That's
When
a pretty
he
good
loses
nominee.
Wilson.
I mean, but gosh, I didn't feel anything. I felt the whole time that's just a volleyball.
Stugats.
It was his best friend. It was more than
I know,
volleyball.
but I didn't feel that one. They didn't create the character of the volleyball well enough for me in Castaway for me to buy. Like, it was just a volleyball floating away with a bloody handprint on it.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugats on ESPN Radio.
So the story from Rick Ross, the rapper. You know, I like to tackle social stuff. What are you laughing about back there, Guillermo?
Just laughing at the rejoin of you dancing when you had to do the whip and the nay-nay, and we were making up moves that you were copying that had nothing to do with that.
I was laughing at Rick Ross, the rapper, as opposed to Rick Ross, the thespian. Yeah.
Oh, but wait a minute. Do you think that everyone in our audience knows that Rick Ross is a rapper?
Yes.
Yeah, pretty standard. Are there other Rick Rosses?
Well, but I just think there are a lot of people listening who don't know a single thing about rap music. I would guess, I don't know what percentage of the audience, but I would think that there are a lot of people in our audience that don't know one solitary thing about rap music.
Put it to the poll. Are there a lot of people in our audience that don't
I guarantee you my father doesn't know. I guarantee you my
Your
father
dad might
doesn't
know Rick Ross.
I
Hasn't
don't
he been
think
on
so.
set?
I don't think you
Not
need
that helps.
I don't think you need to know anything about rap to know the name Rick Ross and what he does, right?
Hold on a second.
Because I don't know much about rap.
I'm going to tell you the story again of Lil Wayne coming through here one day to do the TV show. Comes in here with a big entourage. Smells a lot like marijuana early in the morning. Everybody does, including my father. And Lil Wayne was so excited to meet my father. This is a true story. That, yeah, and he, not surprisingly, is really tiny. That he's hiding behind my legs. He just came in to meet my father. All he wanted to do was sit down and do a rap with my father. And he was hiding behind my legs.
He was hiding behind your legs?
Yes, he's very tiny.
Quite literally hiding behind
Yes,
your legs
he's
as
very
a frightened
tiny.
child.
Yes, not a frightened child. A delighted child, like around a Disney character. The way your kids might get if they want to go to Disney and are very excited to meet the characters, but now the characters are coming close and they're loud and they're moving their hands, and the kid goes and hides behind daddy's leg.
Happened to both my kids.
But Lil Wayne was doing it with my father. And he's got, $125,000 in diamonds in his mouth, and he's just smiling from ear to ear, hiding from my father because he's scared of him. And my father takes a bunch of pictures, does a rap with him. Lil Wayne leaves, and my father turns to me and says, "Who the bleep was that?" So I ask you again, do you think my father knows who Rick Ross is?
Probably not.
Do you think your dad would know Lil Wayne now after meeting him?
Go ahead and call him right now on the air. Call my father live on the air right here, and I'm just going to ask him if he knows.
All right, we know the risks that we're all taking.
Yes,
You had to
we're
ask him
all
about Lil
taking.
Wayne,
Yeah, it's
too,
always
though.
dangerous
Yeah,
putting
he
my
needs to be
father on
articulated.
live radio. Yes, hopefully he won't start cursing and stuff. But just dial him up, dial him up so that everyone can hear the phone ring, and we'll just call him live on the air, and I'll just ask him if he knows who Rick Ross is. But Guillermo, put it on the poll, please.
I would love for him to say, "Oh, he's the biggest boss that you've seen thus far."
Yeah.
But I think there are many people in the audience that, man, why am I getting criticized for trying to help the audience by just simply saying that Rick Ross the rapper? Like,
Right.
why am I being made fun of for that?
It's a minor detail. I mean, he is just trying to help everyone. We get bogged down in the weirdest
Let's
things.
find out. This could be a funny answer. Stay near the dump button because he might start.
Hello?
Bobby,
Dime.
do you know who Rick Ross is?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. What is the name of the person?
Rick Ross. ROSS.
I'm not sure. What's the problem?
No. Okay, no, that's fine.
Yeah, we're good.
He was shooting at my car. I'll call you later. I'll call you in a little bit.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Do you know who Lil Wayne is?
I do want to know the answer to that.
Call him back.
Call him back.
Go ahead. Call him back.
Because he's met him, as you just pointed out.
I think he's
right.
going to know who Lil Wayne is.
There's a good chance. Like, if you had the bet an amount of money that mattered to you. I think I would bet he has no idea who Lil Wayne is.
All right, let's make a bet. We're going to make a bet right now.
Do this.
I must admit, I have the ability to talk to the person on hold while we're bringing him up, and you don't hear me on the air, and I just kept feeding your dad. He's the biggest boss.
And he didn't understand. He just got disoriented. All right. So what's the bet, Stu?
He really
what
is
the
me.
bet? What is the bet? What is the bet right now? You are betting he doesn't know who Lil Wayne is. I am betting that he does know who Lil Wayne is because he just met him. What's the bet?
Okay. I'm willing to go, like, I don't know, what do you want to do, $20?
You really are confident, huh?
Not terribly confident. I might as well just hand you $20.
I mean, $20. Okay.
All right, is the bet set? I'm going to call him.
Yeah, fine. $20.
Or $1.
Like, do you say Leonardo DiCaprio, the actor?
Why am I doing this bet? He's obviously going to.
I don't know if he knows or
Mike,
not.
make sure he
Let's find out. $20. Like, usually the risk is I'll be naked on a shark, or Stu Gatz will do the fine bomb. $20.
I'm not doing that. Here.
You're just giving me the $20.
Jeez, so stupid.
You might win.
Hello?
Bobby.
Dime. Yeah.
Do you know who Lil Wayne is? Lil Wayne.
No, I don't know who is he? Is he a wrestler?
Yeah! Yeah!
Make me a bicycle, clown.
What 100 then?
I tried to feed him. He's wheezy. It's wheezy F baby.
He loves the syrup.
Don Le Batard.
I'm telling you, we are good here. Trust me. I've never let you down.
Stugats.
It's like living a life. Imagine living your life, and every time you take a step, you know you might step on a landmine. That's my life. I'm married to a minefield, and he doesn't know that he's a minefield. It's just like, trust me, Dan, we got this, while cleaning the chocolate out of his teeth with his tongue.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugats on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guest on the Dan Le Batard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Get instant gold status at Shell. Join the Fuel Rewards program now at fuelrewards.com/gold. Here's your SportsCenter update. The Jets claim wide receiver Lucky Whitehead off of waivers from the Dallas Cowboys on Wednesday. Jordan Morris scored in the 88th minute to give the United States a 2-1 win over Jamaica in the Gold Cup final on Wednesday night. The win marks the sixth time the U.S. has won the Gold Cup. And finally, Falcons wide receiver Julio Jones hired a dive team to recover a $100,000 earring he lost while jet skiing. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in the SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
How much you figure that costs?
The dive team?
Hiring a dive team to scour a giant lake looking for a $150,000 diamond.
I said during the local hour, my guess was right around $20,000. I also said if I was part of the dive team that was hired to search for that earring and I found the earring, I would put it in a little pouch and not tell Julio that I found it. That's what I would do. It's a heady play. Because then what you're doing there is Julio has to pay you anyway. He pays you because you're part of the dive team, and you recover the earring, and then you take that. No one's going to know. You take the earring, and you go sell it for $100,000, $150,000.
It's not a heady play. It's a felony.
Oh.
A bit of a gray area. I heard it. I heard it in his headset. I heard you say bit of a gray area in his headset, and you got to turn down your headset, man. That joke would have killed. Bit of a gray area.
It is debatable, though. You agree, right? There is a bit of a gray area, right?
I so wish that I could experience this show with the jokes as a delightful surprise instead of hearing them first in your ear.
Well, hold on. Let me get the headsets to a volume where you can't hear them. Mike, try that again, the gray area joke. Did you hear that?
Yes.
Hold on. Go ahead, Mike. Did you hear that?
It sounded muffled. I didn't understand. I heard someone talking. I couldn't hear what they were saying.
I'm going to go real. This is the lowest I've ever gone here. Hold on. I could barely. Okay. Hold on a second. This is the lowest I've ever been. All right, go ahead. Try one more time, Mike.
It's so unprofessional. It's such an unprofessional radio show that we do. So, Chael Sonnen, I told you recently, and I didn't even get into that Rick Ross social story because we ended up derailing.
What is Seth Meyers doing?
That was yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
That was yesterday. We'll get back to that maybe at some point today. I don't know.
Where are we right now?
July.
Okay.
And so we wander around in July, and we enjoy wandering around in July.
Bit of a gray area, Dave.
All right, enough.
July is.
Enough. I'm unfortunately, the reason I'm lashing out is because I feel like I can hear him and understand what he's saying in the headsets, but the audience can't. That they just hear that there's noise. They can't make out the words, regardless. Chael Sonnen is very good at feuding. And the last time he was on with us, he got mad, and then he went on his own podcast, and he shredded me, and he said that I was race baiting him. But just give me some of the best Chael Sonnen sound over the years of him coming at me in his cartoonish wrestler style.
This is the most notorious one, where he describes you in a very funny word that I hadn't heard since medieval times.
No, but why don't you just say, Chael, maybe I had it wrong, man. I'm sorry. I had a lot of things going on. Why wouldn't you just do that?
I'd be happy to say that if that were so.
Oh, okay.
But it's not wrong.
Wonderful, wonderful. You're going to edit it out anyway. You're either going to edit it or you're not going to produce the quote because you can't.
No, we will, and I'll try, but we can't produce it right now.
Let me tell you what you'll do because you're such a charlatan. I'll predict the future for you, okay, Dan? What you're going to do is you're going to bring up a quote from where somebody else goes, well, this is what I heard. What I'm challenging you to do, because you're a liar, you said you found this and you didn't, bring me saying it.
He had said the quote, but he did the move of asking me on the spot while we were talking, play the sound of the quote as if I had some sort of jukebox with Chael Sonnen sound in it. But here's the thing. The last time he was on with us, he claims we hung up on him. Chael Sonnen, the UFC guy. I feel the need to say that now. Identify everybody now that I've identified Rick Ross as the rapper. Chael Sonnen, the UFC guy. And so last time he was on with us, Mike, do you have any of the sound from his podcast where he sounds bent out of shape, right? We agree that he's legitimately mad. That
yes, he is mad at you, no doubt.
That he's not doing his normal wrestling character here. Off of his podcast, he's agitated, and I didn't think he was faking this, so listen to this.
Who does he think he's hanging up on? That jobber, I will come down there and take the mic out of your hand, jabroni. You won't even be on this show in a second. A little bit of gratitude from Le Batard is what I was thinking. I really did. I thought it was a bit of an underhanded move. And I thought when he pulled it, I kept my phone with me so they could go to commercial break and then he could personally call me and go, hey, I hope you were okay with that. Blah, blah. None of those things happened. No. He pulled some scumbag moves on me in the past, but I used to fillet him for it. I used to bash him for it. I just stopped now that we're under the same roof of Disney. Apparently, I misjudged that. He's letting me know by this tactic that he did, that no, we don't have to do that. We don't all get along. I'll bury a Disney guy the same as I'll bury a Fox guy. Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know that. I didn't operate under that. So, but now that I know, no more free passes. And if he wants to come on and blindside me with something and then hang up on me, well, I'll take you one step further, Le Batard. I just won't have you there at all. I'll go on Jim Rome's show, who's a lot bigger than your show, and I'll do it on the Smack Off, and I will destroy you.
So that's from Podcast One, You're Welcome, with Chael Sonnen. And so I call him. And he answers the phone like a supervillain.
Oh, no.
Before saying hello. Well. That's how he answers the phone. And so So wait a minute. It gets better. It gets better than that? Yes, it gets better because he stays in character. So it's well.
That's a perfect way
right,
to
and I haven't even said anything yet. And so he's like, so you're here to apologize. And I'm like, no, actually, I'm not going to apologize for anything. He's like, on a knee, beg, crawl, grovel. And I'm like, I'm not apologizing. I just want to make sure we're good. Like, I never know when you're acting or when you're serious. Like, are we good?
It's a bit of a gray area, Dan.
Splash!
So you guys good?
I guarantee you that what's going to happen, yeah, we're good, but I guarantee you that what's going to happen is the next time he makes an appearance somewhere ripping me, it's going to be, he called me to apologize, and he groveled and he begged.
Of course it is.
Right, that's absolutely how it's going to,
You did none of those
right,
things.
it's how, I'm like, I'm not even apologizing. I'm not sorry for anything. I just want to make sure that you're good.
Dan Le Batard.
Many texters writing in here, Dan, you're not a Beatle, you're Meatloaf. Is that what I would be? What would I be if I were a band?
Stugats.
There's a band called Cake.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugats on ESPN Radio.
Adam Schefter is reporting that the Baltimore Ravens are in discussions with each other and thinking about signing Colin Kaepernick. Their backup quarterback is Ryan Mallett. That team makes a lot of sense for a lot of different reasons. Harbaugh obviously would know what Kaepernick is as a quarterback from his brother. Harbaugh has the kind of job security where he'd be okay handling a situation that might be uncomfortable because he's not afraid of it. And that owner, you saw that owner make an appearance with those perfect teeth when the Ray Rice controversy came, and he was just bleep you press conference mafioso.
Yeah.
Like he was just sitting in his chair. All the sports world is going crazy all around him, and he's just like leaning into his chair. Might as well have been smoking a cigarette, looking out at the crowd condescendingly. Ask your questions. I'm a billionaire. I've got bleep you money. I'll do whatever I please with Ray Rice and my investigations and my football team. That's the kind of owner you need.
Yes. But it does beg the question, like Ryan Mallett's the backup there. Why does it take Joe Flacco getting hurt for Colin Kaepernick to be considered for a job in the NFL?
Well, there are a couple of things here. Kean Fahey, if you follow his work, he joins us on the show here, and he's very specific and meticulous about how he does the measurements on quarterbacks. And Joe Flacco's touchdown rate was terrible last year. His yard per attempt was terrible last year. Interceptions. He wasn't good last year.
Right.
And you can make the argument, you can make a legitimate argument that Colin Kaepernick could be as good as the quarterback who is the highest paid in the entire league, Joe Flacco, because Joe Flacco wasn't very good last year.
Sure. Yeah. 14 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, QB rating. In fact, I'm looking at 20 touchdowns, 15 interceptions, 83.5 quarterback rating. I think Kaepernick had a better year last year.
With less help at the skill talent, but at the skill positions. But what I would say as I'm watching this, what is the perfect situation? Because I thought Seattle was the perfect situation because of the temperament of their defense, because Russell Wilson, he's just, Colin Kaepernick, I feel like we can say that's an excellent backup to have. I feel like for all of you who want to disparage Colin Kaepernick, and you can say he's not a starter in their league if you want, even though I think he is, right. And with better skill talent, with better skill position players, he would be better. Mm-hmm. There's no disputing that he'd be an excellent backup.
Yeah, it'd be impossible to dispute that.
And there's no disputing that he's a better backup than Ryan Mallett.
Correct. Yes. And
so you get into one of these situations where Seattle passes on him, and you wonder what's the right spot. This feels like to me, Seattle felt perfect. Of all the situations, Seattle felt perfect because it's a coach who allows his players to have personality. It's a team, actually, you know what? I think it's fair to say of the Seattle Seahawks, it's one of the reasons I find their locker room to be among the most interesting in sports. It's kind of a defiantly black team. That defense, the way that defense behaves is proudly in your face black. And they believe, like Michael Bennett's writing a book with Dave Zirin about things that make white people uncomfortable.
but I'm not certain it was the exact right situation for him, only because you're right about everything you just said, but those guys are also very vocal. Some of them, Richard Sherman, maybe they don't like Russell Wilson that much, feel like he gets too much credit. I could see guys in that defense saying, hey, we don't want Colin Kaepernick. We don't just want Colin Kaepernick. We want Kaepernick to start. Or the second that Wilson falters, they're going to be vocal saying we want Kaepernick in the game. Those guys aren't afraid to say anything.
Well, that's actually an interesting viewpoint because I don't think Russell Wilson's job status seems perfectly safe, even though he couldn't run last year, and Russell Wilson not being able to run ceases to be Russell Wilson. But that's an interesting point that you're making because if Richard Sherman does have trouble with Russell Wilson and the offense is laboring, that would actually be something that Pete Carroll would have to take into consideration. Is my defense going to turn on my quarterback?
Yeah.
Well, here, let's talk about this way.
Yeah, Pete Carroll, he cited essentially, well, not publicly, he didn't want Colin Kaepernick because of what it would do to his locker room, just in a different form. That's why he went with Austin Davis.
Well, this is interesting. This one's interesting because let's think about this for a second. Pete Carroll knows what's going on in his locker room. They were thinking about trading Richard Sherman as part of that Seth Wickersham ESPN The Magazine story. One of the things that was being covered is that Richard Sherman doesn't like Russell Wilson's relationship with management. Now let's think about this. And this is actually interesting. And I hadn't considered it until right now because I didn't understand why Seattle passed on Kaepernick because it makes too much sense to have Kaepernick instead of Austin Davis. Like that's the most logical thing in the world. You can ask any football fan, no matter their politics, no matter how they feel about Kaepernick, and I put them next to each other and I say Kaepernick or Austin Davis, who you want? Everyone's saying Kaepernick.
Of course.
But you just brought up something interesting that I had not considered at all. And the idea of if that defense is defiantly black, and if that defense has some sort of problem that feels like it's being reported very gingerly by white people as our quarterback's not black enough, whatever that means, right? Dangerous conversation point, but whatever that means, that the defense of the Seattle Seahawks is Michael Bennett and Richard Sherman being one kind of black and not liking the kind of black Russell Wilson is and preferring the kind of black that Colin Kaepernick is. Now what? Like, I would love to have the conversation, an honest conversation with Pete Carroll, because all of this becomes dangerous, right? Kinds of black and everything else. But you know that this is something that happens in locker rooms, and you know that it is something, hell, it got Rob Parker fired from this network by calling, RG3 a cornball brother.
Are you talking about a literal gray area?
Really? You give yourself the laugh.
Amazing.
It's not fair that you control the laugh.
That's amazing.
It's not fair that Mike Ryan.
It's pretty good.
Mike Ryan. It is pretty good. I will grant you that it's pretty good. I don't like that you have control over the Hakeem Nicks laugh.
Because black and white, they make gray.
Right.
Yeah,
you don't need to explain it.
Yeah.
I want the buttons that allow me to control the loser game show sound and the Hakeem Nicks laugh.
You would hit the wrong button. But here's the thing.
I want the power. Put it in here tomorrow. Tomorrow, I want the power to press a button where I control the Hakeem Nicks laugh and the loser game show.
But you only control it for Mike. I shouldn't be complaining today. I've gotten 3 laughs. You've gotten none.
Right.
But
I don't like. Well, Mike always gets laughs on his jokes because he's the one hovering over the button. He never gives himself the loser game show sound unless I'm yelling at him. Give yourself the loser game show sound. You never do that.
Hi, everyone. Stu Gatz here. Support for the Dan Le Batard Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, and your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Stugatz, STUGOTZ, equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
You're listening to Love Advice with Leanne. Caller, you're on the air.
Hi, Leanne. Longtime listener, first-time caller. Why, in your professional opinion, do you never take my calls off the air?
Is this Carl?
Yep, it's Carl. I mean, we had a few dates. Everything was great. I thought,
Well, when you switch to Geico, you could save a lot of money on car insurance.
Okay, awesome.
You should call them.
I will.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Want an easy way to see if you could save money on car insurance? Geico gives you 3. Call 1-800-947-AUTO. Go online to geico.com or stop by the Geico office nearest you. 3 ways you could save 15% or more.
Don Le Batard.
Did you know that Jose Canseco's finger fell off during a poker game?
We did a good show today, man.
68% of the audience said no. That's all we got today.
Is that all?
Our job is done.
Stugats.
That's a quality program we put together.
Good job, everyone.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugats on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance, comparing rates to help you save. Now that's Progressive. Call or click today and find out how much Progressive could save you. Guests on the Dan Le Batard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Here's your SportsCenter update. The L.A. Chargers have acquired Bills' second-year quarterback Cardale Jones in a trade that sends a conditional draft pick to Buffalo. A source told ESPN's Adam Schefter the draft pick is conditional for the 7th round. The Rockies acquired right-handed reliever Pat Neshek and cash from the Philadelphia Phillies.
Isn't it Neshek?
July. And finally, U.S. Energy Secretary Rick Perry has become the latest victim of a pair of Russian phone pranksters who have previously fooled Elton John into thinking he was chatting to Vladimir Putin. On this occasion, Perry believed he was discussing American coal exports with Ukraine's prime minister. In fact, he was talking to 2 Russian pranksters who have become known for targeting celebrities and politicians with audacious stunts. Suspicions rose when the 22-minute conversation turned to a claim by the fake prime minister that the Ukraine government has invented a new biofuel made from home-brewed alcohol and pig manure, according to a translation reported to the Washington Post.
Right.
An Energy Department spokesperson has confirmed the call.
All right. That's excellent.
For all the latest headlines and information, tune in the SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
Guillermo, what are you laughing about back there?
Well, just in between breaks, the break's ending, and Allison just walks in and goes, "Dan hates me, by the way," which is a normal thing. Like, so much so that like I had a text chain going with me, Boog, and Allison, where it was just, "This is why she thinks you hate her today." So like but it was becoming such a chore because every day Dan hates me, and I was like, "Why today?" And it was like another thing.
Allison has literally done nothing ever in her life that has bothered me. Like, she is so crazy and neurotic, I don't even understand. Among all of the people here, Allison bothers me less than anybody. And she's just crazy about me hating her. I'll tell you what happened.
Close second, me?
No, you are not a close second. You are first on the list of people around here who annoy me the most.
Man.
But what happened is we have a very relaxed atmosphere around here. We have a lot of fun. I love that we have an environment that is really loose. But I also understand why Steve Harvey wrote that angry note. Steve Harvey wrote that angry note because at every point that he went anywhere, and he's got a million different jobs, somebody from his staff wanted to spend time talking to him about something. And so during the commercial break, which is when I organized myself for the 4 hours that we talk every day.
3 for you.
3 in July for me. Not that Stugats has any resentment about that.
No.
I was trying to summon in my memory what it is that I wanted to talk about this segment. And she comes in bothering me about sandwiches.
Is she still with the sandwiches?
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing.
Since Monday.
Days this has been going on.
That's it.
I know. Like, I'm buying lunch for everybody on Friday and just switched it up to pizza, and I shouldn't have. And so it's the first thing Allison has ever done to bother me, and it's true. I do hate her.
Oh, man.
Because I don't remember what it is I wanted to talk about this segment. Right. But I do know that I'm going to pay more than $60 for sandwiches on Friday.
I got an idea. Perhaps you can tell me and the audience what Seth Meyers is up to.
No, I'm not going to do that.
Do you know the long-term effects that's going to have on Allison? Like, do you realize what you've just done?
Well, I said on the front end, yes, she just grabs the one negative thing that I said instead of all the other things that I said, which she has never once bothered me until this moment. But I was trying to prepare our show. Not sandwiches, not lunch tomorrow. The thing we get paid for today.
So what type of sandwiches are we getting?
What are we doing?
Are we getting pinwheels? I know you don't think
I
that
love
wraps
pinwheels.
are sandwiches, but a pinwheel
No,
is
and
a
worse,
sliced-up
she
wrap.
misunderstood my request because I buy pizza on Fridays, and I wanted to go bigger this Friday just for no reason other than everyone's doing a good job, and it's Stugatz's birthday on Saturday, so I wanted to do something larger than the pizza. She's trying to keep it within the pizza budget, which was exactly not the point of what it is that I was trying to do.
Well, that's not what you said, because you just said do something different. So
I said
was
something bigger.
You did?
I'm pretty sure I did, yes.
Sparklers.
Okay. So I'll fix it, and we'll do something bigger. And these guys are the worst, because they were... Well, I don't want to talk about it. I want to go home.
What's going on with your sweater? You have two different
All right,
sweaters.
The sweater is... The sweater's an interesting...
That's the worst sweater I've ever seen.
Oh, no, I like it. I think it's great. I really do.
I like it, too.
Yeah,
It's
nice.
very comfortable. I don't know.
You have a pocket on one side. You've stitched two different sweatshirts together. One side of the sweater is longer than the other because, again, you stitched two different sweaters together.
I like it.
Tom Ford, all of them in here, all the fashion gurus in here.
I like it too. Put it up on the poll.
great.
Take a picture of it, even though
Take a picture.
Allison is
That's gonna be
camera shy.
another thing.
So take a picture
Oh,
when
no.
she's not
No, no,
looking.
no, no.
Take a picture when she's not looking. Put it on the poll at Levitard Show. Do you like Allison's sweater? Yes or no?
That's the style now. I'm telling you guys, it's the style.
How about this, Stugatz? I had this back and forth today with a member of the Dolphins. This is funny. You're going to find this funny.
Okay.
So there is a wide receiver from Michigan State who is trying to get a tryout with the Miami Dolphins by panhandling outside of their facility. He's holding a sign that says, "Give me a tryout." He's going direct to the source. Mm-hmm. Standing right outside of the facility with a cardboard cutout as if you would ask, the same way you'd ask for food or you'd beg for money at a stoplight. He is begging for a tryout. And the Sun Sentinel wrote a story about it. And so I sent it to a member of the Dolphins without comment. And the response I got back was, I can't believe they made a story out of that. And my response was, you won't believe it either when the Patriots sign him and he scores 3 touchdowns against you 3 months from now. And then I heard nothing back. So I had to follow up like 12 hours later. What? Nothing? I get nothing for that? That's funny.
Right.
They don't think it's funny. It's not funny when you spent that much time underneath Brady. He doesn't appear to be aging. He's 700 years old. And he wins the Super Bowl, and you're always chasing him.
Funny, man. I would have taken it out a step further. Like, yeah, you won't be laughing so much when Bill Belichick is making his introduction speech when he gets, when he goes to Canton.
I thought my joke was fine.
Oh, come on, man. Come on.
What?
I wasn't going for a joke. I was just saying how I would have done it. Oh, God.
Watch
those hurts.
Watch Pablo and Bomani on First Take. They're on our friends Pablo and Bomani are on First Take.
Don't watch it now.
DVR.
It's fine if they watch.
They re-air that thing afterwards.
No, it's fine if they leave us to go watch it.
No.
Not at all.
No.
You stop doing that.
You're supposed to be inviting people in to listen, not kicking them out of the house.
I'm not kicking them. I'm telling them, look, if you don't like what's here, there's some good stuff over there, too.
No. Start right here. In fact, listen to us live, subscribe to Apple Podcasts, and listen on the ESPN app simultaneously.
Yeah, do that.
Just do it for me. Subscribe.
Please.
Leave reviews.
Please. Sometimes you miss things the first time.
How much would you pay? How much? I want to put the over-under on this. Gary, we'll put this on the poll at Lebitard Show. $100. Over or under? Actually, make it $99.99. Amount of money that you would pay. Over or under? $99.99.
Kevin Brilliant over here.
To hear the conversations that Carmelo is having with LeBron and to see the texts that are now leading to Frank Isola of the New York Daily News reporting that Melo has blocked all the Cleveland stuff and Kyrie to New York isn't a possibility because Melo wants to be in Houston now. Melo has made the priority being in Houston.
God, that's funny. I'd pay over $100 for it. $99.99.
to have undistilled, like the truth, because you got to imagine LeBron's also telling Carmelo what's happening with Kyrie, right? Because we haven't heard from the participants. One of the weird things about this Kyrie LeBron thing is the last time something like this happened, it was because Shaq and Kobe were going at each other publicly. They were actually providing the words for us to watch the feud and watch the relationship escalate because Kobe's calling Shaq fat and everything else. Like they were going back and forth at each other in a way that was poisonous. These guys aren't doing that yet. But the idea that Carmelo has chosen Houston over Cleveland, to me, is as damning as any signal you can have that LeBron's gone, that LeBron is not going to remain in Cleveland. To me, that is as damning as anything because Carmelo is one of these friends that goes beyond basketball with LeBron. Right. The same way that Dwayne goes beyond basketball with LeBron and Chris Paul goes beyond basketball with LeBron.
I agree with you. It is interesting from this standpoint. It appears, so people are wondering, are they in cahoots? Are they in constant communication, which I think they are. So maybe Carmelo doesn't want to allow the Knicks to get someone like Kyrie Irving for Carmelo Anthony because that helps their franchise out, and he doesn't like that franchise because that franchise hasn't treated him very well. And then LeBron doesn't want Kyrie to get what he wants, which is going to one of those teams, going to the place where he grew up. It is fascinating,
well,
man.
all of it's so fascinating because in LeBron and Carmelo, you have two of the few players in the history of the league to have a no-trade clause, and Carmelo can absolutely be petty by doing what he's saying to New York. Oh, no, you're not getting Kyrie Irving back for me. You're getting the crud Houston has back for me because I want to go play with Chris Paul. And really, how much of a difference is it in terms of how good the teams are going to be? If I tell you right now, Carmelo goes to Cleveland, Carmelo goes to Houston, aren't you looking at both of those teams and you say the East versus the West and he can get out of the East because the East is easier, but it's about the same job, is it not?
Yes.
The teams are probably as good. Houston might be better, especially at this point with no Kyrie, but Cleveland, easier path, and Carmelo can actually make it to an NBA Finals.
Who might be better with no Kyrie?
Oh, Houston.
I think Houston might be better. Cleveland,
even without Kyrie, even without this Kyrie stuff. Say it's Cleveland's team from last year and this Houston team. Houston might be better. Houston probably was better last year.
Yeah, Houston was very good last year.
That's a dangerous game, though, if you're Carmelo, right? Because the Knicks don't have to take the deal from Houston, and the Knicks could make them sit there for 2 more years if they want.
I know, but Stugatz, it's not a dangerous game because he's got all the power on where it is that he goes. I wonder how much the New York Knicks regret giving him a no-trade clause. Because he has, like, yes, you can get stuck in New York, but getting stuck in New York, how terrible is that really?
Right.
Like, he's getting all his money, he's living in the city that he wanted to live in, and he's not going to win, but he's got all of the leverage. Because he's got the no-trade clause, and because he'd be fine enough in New York.
Sure.
Like, this is... To me, what's happening in basketball, I would love to see it throughout sports. I would love to see players have this kind of power because, of course, some of them are going to make a mess with it. But how much fun is that for us when they make a mess? Now, obviously, it's not so much fun if you're a Knicks fan, and it's not so much fun if you're an Indiana fan, and it's not so much fun if you're a Chicago Bulls fan.
But if you don't care about those teams.
Right, but if you don't care and it's just these guys, these power brokers are all making the moves that can give your team, your city hope because you might even get them. Like the idea that everyone would stand in line to trade for Kyrie Irving when we've seen what teams look like when Kyrie Irving is their best player and they're not any good. Like the idea that Kyrie Irving has arrived in this place of fame and interest is almost exclusively owed to LeBron James getting him to the finals for 3 straight years.
Yes.
Otherwise, Kyrie Irving wouldn't be this kind of special. It's just because LeBron keeps getting him so deep into the playoffs and people are like, hey, Kyrie's special. But when LeBron wasn't there, Kyrie is the headpiece on a team was terrible in the East and they never made the playoffs.
We used to commend the NFL for keeping its fans interested throughout the offseason, and the NBA, it's interesting 12 months out of the year. Did you hear Adam Silver? He was on with Rich Eisen, just telling whoppers.
Oh, giant
about
whoppers.
Huge whoppers about this Cleveland situation.
I don't want to hear about it.
I feel bad for what's ever going on in Cleveland, and I have no firsthand information, but I assume where there's smoke, there's fire, and Brian Windhorst has been cataloging LeBron's career for a long time, and he usually has very, accurate insights from that team.
Oh, I feel bad.
Get out of here.
This is such a bad situation.
In
It's
the
not
middle of
great.
July, everyone's talking about his sport, and he doesn't like the way they're talking. How we came about
Poor
talking
Cleveland.
about his sport. Get out of here.
Poor Cleveland.
Guillermo, put it on the poll. Is Adam Silver sincere when he says he feels bad for Cleveland? Yes or no?
To find us on a station near you, visit espn.com/ESPN Radio and click the station locator tab.
Don Le Batard. You're just allowed to give me one word on what you think. I tell you, American flag, you give me one word on what you think. Go ahead, Chris. You're only allowed one word.
Freedom.
That's what I was going to go with.
Stugatz.
Guillermo.
Bald eagles.
What?
2 words.
Well,
I mean, God, $2.
That's a fine.
$2. I mean, $2.
That's a fine.
Do you realize?
shame.
Do you realize how hard it is to be that bad with 2 words, man?
Apple pie.
I got 2 words for you.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugatz on ESPN Radio.
We've got a new world's richest person, surpassing Bill Gates. Net worth climbed $1 billion today.
This morning.
Jeff Bezos, who owns everything, is now officially richer than Bill Gates.
You think Bill Gates is upset by that news? Like, do you think Bezos sends him a text like, "Hey, I caught you, I got you," something like that? Just talking smack.
Well, I don't, because Bill Gates is so famously philanthropic, is such a giver with that money. But Stugatz just gave you keen insight to how he would behave if he were the world's richest man. He would fire off texts to other rich men.
Because Bezos was way down on the list just a few years ago, and he has climbed all the way to the top. And I would have texted everyone as I was passing them, one by one.
Have you seen the pictures of Bezos before he was this kind of rich and Bezos now? Before he was this kind of rich, there are pictures all over the internet of him being nebbish with books. And now, all of a sudden, he looks like that guy, Dan Bilzerian. Like, he's wearing, he's wearing polar bear coats. Like, he's with their sleeves cut off. Like, he is, the pictures are funny on the internet. If you've not seen them, the evolution of Bezos with money into just sort of a conqueror versus he's gone from bookstore owner to conqueror.
Before and after pictures.
Guillermo, you got to look at him. Guillermo, put it on the poll, please. Is Bill Gates bothered that Bezos has passed him on the world's richest man? Oh, you saw it, right? Like, that's great, isn't it?
That's amazing.
How would you describe? Like, he looks like an unbelievable dork. But have you seen the new pictures of him? Like, just first of all, he's been working out.
Okay, so here's the I'm showing you right now an old picture of Bezos, okay, before he was the wealthiest man in the world. And now here's the picture I think you're looking for. This is Bezos as the wealthiest man.
No, that isn't even the one. There's one that looks like he's ready to go slaughter things. Like, with his bare hands.
Yeah, that one, he looks like a mercenary of some sort.
Yeah, well, he looks like he's someone from the Expendables.
Yeah. I believe there's an explosion behind him.
Yeah, that's the one.
He looks like a Secret Service member.
That's the one I was looking at.
Yeah.
That's the picture where he absolutely looks like he's swaggering. He looks like there is, in slow motion, an explosion taking place behind him. And he looks like he could be one of the Expendables. How great would that be? I think they should do that. Are they going to make another Expendables movie? If they do, they should throw Bezos in there, and his power should just be rich.
Don Le Batard.
Oscar Robinson had 41 triple-doubles back in 61-62. 41.
Stugatz.
It's Robertson, but...
Go.
Okay, but...
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugatz on ESPN Radio.
Hold on here, boys. A lot going on with this SportsCenter update.
Whew. You're scared of our next guest.
I'm scared.
Name.
Dan, look how I wrote it out.
What is his name? What is our guest's name?
Dave McMenamin.
All right, you nailed it.
All right, he's joining us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line in a second, and we are presented by Progressive Insurance. So I got that out of the way, so we're good. He's the best Cavs reporter going right now. By far, it's not even close. Go ahead, name another one. Name one. I dare anyone. Name anyone else covering the Cavs that is doing a better job than Davey Mack. Go ahead. I ain't saying that name twice. Here's your SportsCenter update. The Chargers. Can't get used to the L.A. Chargers. But the L.A. Chargers have acquired Bills' second-year quarterback Cardell Jones in a trade that sends a conditional draft pick back to Buffalo, a source told ESPN's Adam Schefter. The draft pick is conditional for the 7th round. The Rockies acquired right-handed reliever Pat Neshek. July. And finally, Academy Award winner Mahershala Ali. Told you to hang on. Mahershala Ali has officially signed on to be the lead in Season 3 of True Detective. Mahershala recently won a Best Supporting Actor Oscar for his performance in Moonlight. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in to the SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
Texter writes in, every day you guys spout tons of garbage with no research. Read something other than just the damn headlines.
Is that guy?
All right, you know what Bezos is worth because you've done the math, and he's not the richest person in the world. He's 8th richest, and never mind. You got us, sir. You boxed us in. Dave McMenamin with us on ESPN Radio. Do you and Windhorse have, and thank you for joining us, do you have like a competitive feud? I know you've worked together on a book, but does the competition ever rise where you guys are actually having poisonous feelings about each other?
No, actually, I'm happy to say that we work really well together, which is not the easiest thing to do at ESPN sometimes with super competitive and super talented colleagues. So, no, we're all good.
If you had to describe LeBron James's feelings right now, would you describe them as Lou Pinella'd?
Sweet Lude.
Is he furious? Like, would he take, if he was on a baseball diamond, would he go to second base and throw a base in the air?
Kind of a dated reference there.
Is he Lou Pinella, Dave?
Dan? Yeah, no, I don't put it like that at all.
Sweet Lude.
The two outcomes here would be, one, he puts together the same team that he played with the last 3 years and made it 3 straight finals, and a guy who averaged 29.5 points a game against the Warriors this past finals, including 40 points in their Game 4 win. Or two, they get some sort of package of players, and LeBron is still in his prime and still feels like he would have enough talent to get back to the NBA Finals. So, there was some surprise that Kyrie decided to go the trade request route, but LeBron James is just fine.
Can you help us understand something, please? Is there potential for this to get even messier? Is Kyrie Irving, because he doesn't have real power because he's under contract, is it possible that he will try to make it even messier in order to get out of there?
I don't believe that's going to be the case. People around the Cavs believe that, should they not find the requisite trade, that they feel like there's enough value to send out a guy who's 25 years old, in his prime, who's in a very affordable contract, and they had to bring him back into the fold, that Kyrie Irving's a proud enough player, a competitive enough player that, there could be some tension for a little bit in training camp or in the locker room, but when the games occur, he's just going to ball out. And I've spoken to several of the Cavs teammates, both LeBron and Kyrie, and they hope that's the outcome. They say, why don't we just put this thing back together? We've already had so much drama the last 3 years, and we still kept winning. This is something, two players have told me they feel like they can overcome as well.
Dave, what's the feeling in Cleveland, and are you convinced? Is Cleveland convinced, and are you convinced that LeBron is leaving after this season?
I think it's a distinct possibility. I really believe, and I've reported this, so I'm not going to give a different opinion than what I've reported, that LeBron's not going to make his decision until the end of next year. It's all going to depend on how much the Cavs win. They've made okay moves this offseason. Adding a guy like Derrick Rose, adding Jeff Green, who can play some backup minutes for LeBron, and re-signing Kyle Korver. None of them are going to grab anybody's headlines, but they've been okay moves. And they could potentially trade Kyrie Irving and get better by adding 2 or 3 pieces that could help them immediately, or they could keep him, and he's still a young 25-year-old guy in his prime. So whatever they do next year will dictate LeBron's decision. He's been a year-to-year contract guy. And if they slip from their Eastern Conference supremacy, I think there's a better than good chance of him leaving. If they get back to the finals and things seem to be on the up and up, if he cares about winning, he would stay in Cleveland.
Dave McMenamin, ESPN, with us on ESPN Radio. Of all the reporting that you've seen on this subject, they asked me on SportsCenter today, what would you ask Kyrie Irving? And my question would be, what the hell? Like, what is the most surprising thing in all of what you've seen happen here?
The timing was odd. If you want it, and you want it to be give yourself the best chance to get out, then do it before the draft, because there's so many more assets around the league available at that point. To do it on July 7th, when the draft has already occurred and a bunch of teams have already made their initial foray into free agency, it doesn't make a lot of sense. It doesn't seem like a super well thought out decision.
Dave, do you know what's true here? Do you know what's true? Like, what is the reason? Can you say with conviction, the reason Kyrie wants out is blank?
I know, based on my reporting, that the reason Kyrie wants out is he wants to be in a situation where he has more control over the winning and the losing, and has more control over the credit, and also has a situation where, and you guys being in Miami, you know, the LeBron machine is so overbearing at times, and that's, usually there's a lot more good than bad that comes with it, though, because you ultimately win, and if you care about your legacy and you care about the sport, it's all worth it. But there seems to be a bit of fatigue from that process for Kyrie, and he knows that, even if he stays and LeBron leaves, then he's still stuck in the shadow of LeBron because, one, this Cavs roster has been built to play with LeBron, and two, the Cavs franchise will always be LeBron. No matter what Kyrie Irving does, it will always be LeBron in Cleveland.
So, Dave, with that said, because I believe Kyrie is hurt because he found out the Cavs wanted to trade him right around the NBA draft, and I think he thinks that LeBron had a hand in that. So,
well, hold on. Is that true? What's he thinking? Because you were doing the actual reporting.
Right.
Stugotz is just gas-bagging. Is his hypothesis true?
Oh, the Cavs did include Kyrie in trade discussions, but it wasn't like they were dangling Kyrie before the trade deadline. It was, if a team called up and mentioned Kyrie Irving, they didn't hang up the phone.
Okay, but Dave, but do they include him in trade discussions if LeBron doesn't give his blessing? LeBron blessed that, right, to include him?
No, I'm not going to say that because none of the discussions got to the point where there was a real trade involved or anything close to a trade involved. So I doubt they are making these initial phone calls to teams and saying, oh, can you just hold up real quick, Gar Forman or Kevin Pritchard? I got to call LeBron real quick to make sure this is okay that we keep talking. So I don't think he got to that point.
What is the thing about the LeBron James machine that is most overbearing?
Everything is something. And we're seeing this. We're late July, and we are still in the NBA season because of LeBron James. And it's a wonderful thing when you see him play basketball. He's, in my opinion, probably the second best player ever to play. And even it's a wonderful thing. A lot of the parts of the machine are wonderful. All the things he does with his influence to make Akron a better place and to say positive message when our country is going through strife. But there is a pressure cooker factor to it. And, not that being an NBA player is a normal job, but there's very little sense of normal being a LeBron James teammate, especially being a top-tier LeBron James teammate.
Dave, thank you as always for the insight. Appreciate your reporting.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, these stats are not going to read themselves.
The shipping container filled with frightened refugees just drifted off there, and I think we have reached our threshold. I knew this was going to happen at some point, and that point has arrived. You guys are no longer interested in the Kyrie Irving, LeBron James story. It took a couple of days, but I think you are now there.
We actually have a sports whisperer.
All right, we'll do that next.
Don Le Batard.
Dan, you're on Dueling Dragons. You're having the time of your life. All of a sudden, the roller coaster goes off the rails, and you die.
Yeah.
Was that fun?
I don't like roller coasters because of the risk of dying in a roller coaster. I don't want to go on any roller coasters because that's one of the possibilities.
Stugats.
You're eating a pastelito. You love pastelitos. This is a delicious pastelito from Casavana. So good. And then it gets lodged in your esophagus and you choke and you die.
Was it fun?
Was it fun?
Yeah.
It was fun while I was eating it. Then it stopped being fun.
Right.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugats on ESPN Radio.
We'll get to Stugatz's Sports Whisperer next segment. It is not quite ready yet. He needs to do some calisthenics with his voice so that it's just right. I want to announce this officially and publicly. Allison, not one more question about the sandwiches.
Oh, man.
Like, I have heard my last question about the sandwiches.
Good for you.
Either the sandwiches are here tomorrow or they're not here tomorrow for everybody. I don't want to think about the sandwiches until people are eating them tomorrow. Not one more question about the damn sandwiches.
I mean, she's asked me 7 times what I want.
It's such a terrible place to live. And Guillermo lives in the same place. This neurotic, just scared, insecure place, having anxiety about anxiety that's coming in the future.
We talked about sandwiches yesterday for 20 minutes, and I'm like, Allison, just order sandwiches and people will eat them or they won't. It doesn't matter. Like, just get the sandwiches.
It's just a terrible. Maybe it's the fuel that helps her be good at this job of getting things done around here.
I just want you to know this jerk yesterday said, I don't even like sandwiches. Do you know a person? I know you don't eat sandwiches and you don't eat bread. Who doesn't like sandwiches? Seriously? This person.
Yeah.
Guillermo's someone who you don't like sandwiches?
That's not true. I'm just eating one of the sandwiches you got today. Thank you, by the way, for the sandwich. I like, certain sandwiches. I don't like everything. But she was taking, specific orders. Like, Roy's like, I don't want too many tomatoes. And Roy ruined the pizza for everybody, months ago anyway.
The pizza.
Yep.
So once she starts taking special orders from everyone, it's going to be impossible.
No, Roy, you ruined pizza. You did. You ruined pizza Friday.
I did not ruin it. No, I did not. No, I did not. I just mentioned that I didn't like onions.
Sorry, Billy. Old wounds. Old wounds.
Get out.
You mentioned that you didn't like onions and what? How did you ruin the pizza?
I just mentioned that I didn't really like onions on a pizza.
Fast forward, no more onions on our barbecue chicken pizza. Ceases being barbecue chicken pizza.
Yes, Mike and I love the barbecue chicken pizza, and Roy didn't like the onions.
Andrea left to not deal
The
with
key to it
Roy,
is
you made
the
a
onions.
yes.
Listen, no.
While we're on this topic, no more thin crust. Can we just do regular crust?
Hate the thin crust. Thank you. I'm glad someone said it. I'm glad someone said
Who
it.
has been ordering that?
Seriously.
There's always a whole cheese thin. We want regular size thin.
Thank you, by the way, Dan. Thank you for all
Who in this studio is all about black olives? Who in the world likes black olives?
That wasn't me.
Why do we have so many black
All
olives?
right, put them all on the poll. Do you hate thin crust? All of these on the poll.
New lighting guy?
Is it
the black olives did start with a new lighting guy?
Is it
Fire him.
Is it barbecue chicken pizza without the onions? And what the hell with the black olives on the pizza? Just those are the questions. I want all of them on the poll. And incidentally, if you wonder how it is that Team Splinter and we get to the place where LeBron and Kyrie are, I want you to just examine all the infighting that came from pizza and sandwiches. Now throw losing into the mix and ego. I want you to hear, you heard all the infighting. It wasn't gratitude for the pizza. Although, well, you heard Guillermo shout thank you a couple of times, but it was complaining about the assortment of people involved in the sharing of the pie. And now apply it to sports and how difficult it is to share the pie. Kyrie doesn't like black olives. LeBron wants onions over here, and then everything comes apart. And next thing you know, there's somebody off in the corner that's insecure like Allison who is worried about everything.
So what are we doing about the sandwiches?
You get out of here.
Can I add an additional poll question? Should the new lighting guy be fired?
Yeah, black olives.
No.
Jeez.
No. Who is the new lighting guy?
I don't know.
He's black olives.
Okay. Did you see the Hugh Freeze quote?
What do you say?
Well, I think Stugatz's reaction to this is going to be the same as everyone's reaction to this. We will get Stugatz's reaction in real time, but I'm paraphrasing the quote because I don't have it in front of me right now, but he said essentially, God is good even in troubling times. I'm going to see my pastor tonight.
wonderful wife and family, and that's my priority. He went on to say that as well. What a joke. I mean, seriously. And so predictable. What else are you going to say after you get caught in this kind of scandal where you called an escort service 9 billion times? What else are you supposed to say? And his wife, I'm serious, if she is buying this, that all he cares about is family, religion, family, religion, I mean, she needs to get out of this marriage. That's all I'm going to say.
Really?
I mean, listen, he's calling escort service, and now it's... That's all I'm going to say, because if she's buying this, I feel badly for her, because she should be buying it.
Their relationship, that's all you're going to do?
I doubt very much that it's all he's got to say as he inserts himself in the middle of Hugh Freeze's bedroom.
I'm just telling you that if I did this to my wife, my wife would leave me.
All right, well, we'll get into all of this in a second. We'll get into the Sports Whisperer, but I love the idea of Hugh Freeze and his wife laying in the bed and Stugatz's head just popping up between them and just raining down judgment and saying, that's all I'm going to say.
Hi, everyone. Stugatz here. Support for the Dan Le Batard Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, and your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Stugatz, STUGOTZ, equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLSconsumeraccess.org, number 3030.
Okay, Kevin, for the grand prize of $1 million, what color is the White House?
I know this.
5 seconds.
Oh, switching to Geico could save you a bunch of money on car insurance?
Okay. Judges? That's true, Kevin. They'll allow it. Congratulations. You're a winner.
Woo! Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Welcome aboard Delta Airlines. Please enjoy your flight, and thanks for choosing Delta.
Jody Avirgan here. Thanks for listening to ESPN Films 30 for 30 podcasts from the producers of the award-winning 30 for 30 series. These new audio documentaries are an incredible collection of sports stories you need to hear to believe. It's really a win-win. Delta Airlines makes your travel experience easy and enjoyable with real-time bag tracking, e-boarding, and passport scanning during check-in. And ESPN's 30 for 30 podcasts make your in-flight time rich with stories that will keep you coming back for more. So sit back, relax, and keep listening to some of the most compelling sports stories ever told.
Dan Le Batard.
When's the last time you were that angry or passionate about something?
Never.
Ever. Never seen Dan.
Never in my life. I've never cared about anything or anyone the way that he cares about it not being the United States of Tortorella.
Stugatz.
He has to be taking all kinds of pills, right?
No. Man, what are you doing there? That is reckless use of the microphone.
Well, the blood pressure has to be high, does it not?
Put it up on the poll. At Le Batard Show, did Guillermo just accuse Stephen A. Smith of pill popping? Yes or no? That is really efficient, disastrous use of the microphone right there.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugatz on ESPN Radio.
Stugatz has a sports whisper here that looks long, that looks difficult.
Yeah. Stretching out.
First Take is asking the question, is LeVar Ball good for basketball? We've got 22 polls up today. This might be a record at Le Batard Show. It's unbelievably excessive.
Put it up on the poll. Too many polls today?
Yeah, too many polls today. Put it up on the poll, yes or no, at Le Batard Show. Our sports polls make fun of sports polls. Largely, they're not about sports at all. 23 damn polls today. That's a lot, but the one we're talking about is the one on First Take, which is 55% of the respondents said LeVar Ball is not good for basketball. How can you arrive there? Honestly,
well, because you don't like him.
I know, but if the question is do you like LeVar Ball or don't you? You know what? Put that on the poll. Do you like LeVar Ball? But if that's the question, then I understand why the numbers would be no, 55, 65, 75%. but is he good for basketball? In what way is he bad for basketball? His AAU game yesterday had thousands of people at it. He's bringing attention to basketball, and the only reflection, if there is a poor one, is on him and his son. It's not on basketball. Like, how can you even make the argument? How can you form the argument that LeVar Ball is bad for basketball?
You really can't. I would not be able to form that argument. So, I mean, he's great for, I don't want to say he's great. He's good for basketball. He's not harming basketball.
Well, he's not bad. How, help me do this. Help me understand how to form the winning argument. A winning argument for LeVar Ball is bad for basketball.
I mean, I think maybe, again, I don't think this, but maybe people would point to the high school game where he got on the coach and maybe he got the high school coach fired, and that's not the way you act as a dad of a kid who's about to make it to the NBA and possibly has two other kids. I mean, there are arguments that could be made, but it's not bad for basketball.
Those are reflections. Those are poor reflections on him.
Yes.
And I wish we had the perfect anarchist, right? Because he does dumb bleep. He ain't the perfect anarchist. He's a great one. But he's not a perfect one because he does stuff that crosses the line. But that's not bad for basketball. It's just bad for him. Anyway, let's go ahead and do this Sports Whisperer.
All right.
What is the subject matter? What are we doing here?
This is a conversation LeBron James had with Kyrie Irving about how to basically make Dan Gilbert's head explode.
All right, so those of you who don't know, not familiar with the Sports Whisper, it's annoying. Sounds a little bit like The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
People have pointed out that it sounds a little bit like Batman. And there are things in sports that people are saying in private. They wouldn't want you to hear them,
Right.
but they're actually happening in private. This is better information than anything that Windhorst or McMenamin or Stephen A. Smith or anyone else is giving you. This right here is the truth. This is keeping it hundred.
Kyrie. Listen up. I'm out of here in a year. Everyone knows that. Except for Dan Gilbert. I know. It's funny. I mean, how the hell does this guy still not know? Guy basically wrote a slave owner type letter when I left the first time and thinks I'm going to stay. I'm going to burn down this franchise on my way out. And by next season, I'll be making more money off of his team than he will. Can't believe he gave Tristan that much money. Anyway.
So the percentage that he gets of that money, he's going to be making more than Gilbert, who's losing money on it?
Commissions at J.R. Smith. That's his client, too. Anyway, Kyrie, I'll meet up with you in a year. But we need to get you out of here, and we need to do it now. So, here's what we're going to do. Thank you. You're going to tell Dan that you want to be traded and that you no longer want to play with me. I'm going to tell a media member I'm comfortable with that I was blindsided and disappointed. Then I'm going to ratchet it up to devastated, soul shattered, and Lou Pinella'd. You know, sweet lewd. Things could get hairy from there. You may or may not hear a report from Stephen A. Smith that if you were in my presence, I'd be tempted to kick your ass. Kyrie, it's all for show. It's all for the greater good. You just need to remain silent, with the exception of a subtle Snapchat in which you sing I'm Coming Home by Skylar Grey. Then, let Mav do what Mav does. I'm going to tell Dan that I've always wanted to play with Brooke Lopez. And that having him gives me a much better chance to stay at Cleveland. You teach Lonzo for a year.
I'll still win the East, despite Kevin and despite Brooke. I mean, how many times are the Raptors going to trot DeRozan and Lowry out there? They actually thought P.J. Tucker would make a difference. Ha, 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 ha. Anyways, where was I? Oh, yeah. After we crush the Raptors, we'll lose to the Warriors at 5. I'll take my jersey off with 1:45 left of the closeout game. Hop on a private jet to L.A., and off we go. Me, you, Paul, Russ, Lonzo, Ingram, Melo, Wade. So to recap, I'm dying. But to recap, request a trade. Insult me. Media member I'm comfortable with, whose name rhymes with bin forced. Devastated. Soul shattered. Lou Pinella. Sweet Lude. Stephen A. Report that I want to fight you. Be quiet. I'm coming home. Let Mav do what Mav does. Lakers. Brooke. Take my jersey off. See you next year in L.A.
I don't feel like the recap was necessary. Like, I feel like
I'm
coming home. Yeah.
My voice is shot.
Yeah, people are calling you the Dork Knight.
I'm crying.
Let's go. My private jet isn't going to fuel itself.
I've also been told that the camera on your lips, close up, is very disturbing. It's unpleasant.
I just ate chicken. Sorry.
The trip with the fellas is planned, and you're looking good now, but you dropped your phone in a puddle. You've been wanting to ditch your current wireless provider anyway, so now's a good time. Head over to Metro PCS before you head out on this trip and take advantage of this great deal. Tell them more, Gots.
Get 2 free awesome smartphones.
Oh, sorry. I'm choking, Mike, on a piece of chicken. I'm not certain I can get through the spot.
Welcome back to the Ride Time with Bomani Jones.
Get 2. I'm not even joking.
I'm coming home.
Hold on a second.
In the meantime. Swig the water.
Oh, whoa.
I'm dying.
I'm coming home.
Maybe stop whispering.
Yeah.
I can't talk at all.
Don Le Batard.
Stugat spent the entire break giggling at a text. What does that text read?
This has been the worst hour in the last 6 years of the show, and it's not even close.
Stugats.
And it's not even over.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugats on ESPN Radio.
When the Players Tribune came out with its idea of athletes talking with no filter, no use for the media, really, athletes in their own voice, Stugats thought that was a project that couldn't work. It's a reasonable cynicism to have because it's very hard to make these things work in the modern age. And I don't actually know whether the Players Tribune works as a business model. I don't know anything about their business model. So I don't know if people actually go to the Players Tribune outside of these stories that make a splash when they get news in an athlete's voice. I think that we might be in a situation with the Players Tribune like we are with late night television, where people aren't actually watching late night television anymore. They're getting caught up with the excerpts and the clips the following morning.
But you're wondering if it's some sort of like a daily destination for people?
I don't know whether it's a functional business in terms of however it is that they do the business, but it's been a good idea for content. They absolutely get people to tell them things. And they've got Lamar Odom here, and people have been trying to get Lamar Odom for a while, and they've got Lamar Odom in his own words. And I like that athletes have this safe space created by Derek Jeter where they feel comfortable telling their story in a way that's not going to get manipulated.
Right.
By the media, by edits, it's just going to be them in their own voice, and they've got final approval on it.
Interesting that Jeter provided this for athletes, a guy who never said a thing.
Never said anything, but maybe he would have felt safer in this environment saying stuff, and maybe that's why he created it. But the article is headlined Done in the Dark, and I'm just going to read some of it to you because I find Lamar Odom interesting. I have found him to be honest and vulnerable and plagued by demons of addiction. Now, as it relates to the Kardashians, something happens with them that's interesting, Stugotz. I am with everyone who believes that the Kardashians have made a ton of money and an empire out of stuff that doesn't seem very much like talent or merit.
Right.
And I understand why people end up blaming them for the things that happen to basketball players for being married or dating them. I don't agree that it's the women that are the problem. I believe that the problem is the fame and the poisons and everything that surrounds that family when it comes to celebrity. I believe it's corrosive and I believe it contributes. And I'm not blaming it on the people involved. I'm blaming it on us. The way the entire celebrity sphere that surrounds that family, I believe, swallows basketball players whole and would swallow anybody whole because it's just a weird it's a weird bubble to live in.
But you're not blaming the Kardashians. You're blaming us who made them the Kardashians.
Yes, I'm blaming everything that surrounds them, which they're only partly responsible for. They're contributing to it, but I don't think these women are poison. I think that what surrounds them is absolutely dangerous. And, you know, you've heard James Harden say that he sort of needed to get out of that, all of it, the bubble, and a lot of people blame Lamar Odom's lapse into addiction on the Kardashian cult. But here is Lamar Odom in his own words in the Players Tribune. When I woke up in the hospital room in Nevada, I couldn't move. I couldn't talk. I was trapped inside my own body. My throat hurt like hell. I looked down and I had all these tubes coming out of my mouth. So I panicked. I started trying to pull them out, but I couldn't because my hands were so weak. The nurses came running in to stop me. You ever had a really bad dream where you're trying to run away from a monster or some bleep and you just can't run? Your legs don't work like they should and the monster's coming right behind you and it's like you're in slow motion? That's what it felt like. I was laying there looking up at the ceiling and the doctors kept coming in and standing over me and saying some stuff. Then they'd leave. Then they'd come back. Leave, come back. Leave again, come back again. Or maybe I was just going in and out of sleep. My ex-wife was there in the room with me. After all the bleep I had done, I was surprised to see her. Honestly, that's when I knew that I was probably in really bad shape. At some point, the main doctor came in and told me what had happened. He said, Mr. Odom, you've been in a coma for the last 4 days. Do you understand? I couldn't talk, so I just nodded. He said, it's a miracle that you're here. We didn't think you were going to make it. I was in total shock. Couldn't say any clever bleep back. Couldn't ask questions. It was the first time in my life that I felt helpless. I felt like I was 2 inches tall. It was just real. At this point in my life, I was doing cocaine every day. Pretty much every second of free time that I had, I was doing coke. I couldn't control it. I didn't want to control it. I remember sitting there in bed, and for the first time in my life, I couldn't talk my way out of the situation. I was trapped all day in my own thoughts, and I kept thinking about something that my grandmother used to say to me when I was a kid. I could see her face like she was right there in the room. What's done in the dark, she would say, will come out in the light. I think of all the sneaky bleep I tried to get away with, all the times I did wrong, all the stuff I tried to hide. If it's not in the public light, it's in God's light. I was laying there in that bed, hooked up to all these machines, people all around me crying, and there was no running from it anymore. It was like God was telling me, whatever the bleep you think you're doing, you need to slow down or it's going to be worse than this. Only one thing worse than this. Rick James said it best. Cocaine is a hell of a drug. It's a hell of a drug. It will make you do things you never thought you'd do. It will turn you into a different person. It will put you in situations where you say to yourself, how the bleep did I get here? You want to read this, correct?
Oh, absolutely. I'd prefer you reading it to me, the entire thing, but yeah.
You want me to keep reading? I'll keep reading.
Well, yeah, it saves me,
Okay, but
saves me from having to read it.
But how about the audience? Like, do you want me to keep reading? Because I want Lamar Odom's thoughts. And this is him being revealing. I've been asking Allison for months to try and get Lamar Odom because we've had a good relationship for a long time, and I enjoy talking to him. And I think that this would be a safe space for him.
And Allison's repeatedly let you down in that regard, right?
Lamar Odom has let me down in that regard. I'll never forget this as it relates to Lamar Odom. Never forget it. I've told you guys this story before. We were out at a radio outing one time, and a group of guys just came up to us, and one of their guys was getting married, and none of the guys in the group liked his fiancée. And so they came up to us looking for life advice and asking, hey, what should we do as his friends? And I didn't know what to say. And the next day we had Lamar Odom on the show, and we asked him that question, what do you do? And he answered it as if he thought about it all his life. He just answered it immediately. He's like, what you do as a group of friends is you get all of your friends together. You choose one friend that you think that the groom-to-be will listen to, and you have that one friend tell him the group's feelings one time and one time only, and then you let it go and you never mention it again because you do not want to be in the middle of that thing with his wife. One time and one time only on behalf of the friends. And then what ended up happening to his life is that he lost his friends because of who he married, and his friends were in his ear about, like, you got to get out of that. Like, don't do that. And whatever happened there, he told us later that he lost a bunch of friends.
Right.
In the transaction, in the way that all of that ended up playing out.
All the texters, they'd like you to keep reading.
Okay.
They would. I don't know if you want to do it here, you want to do it next, fine. But yeah. You left off at cocaine, I believe.
Okay, reading next.
Dan Le Batard.
Limited fake Tim Kirkchen. What do the Royals have to do to make the playoffs?
Stugats.
Dan, the Royals are really good.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugats on ESPN Radio.
Are we going to get to the day where the stigma falls on cocaine the way that it has on marijuana? Because cocaine is addictive in a way that marijuana is not. Marijuana, for all the people who are scared of marijuana is, and the stigma has fallen on this, but marijuana is something that alters you by degrees, not very much. It's a very small thing that's not addictive.
And there's been a lot of research done, and people are going to dispute what I'm about to say, but the research suggests that marijuana is not physically addicting.
Right. And so, but I'm just wondering, is it going to fall on cocaine? We had Dennis Quaid on, and we talked to him about his cocaine usage in the 80s. Mike, do you have that sound, or you guys are looking that sound up? He was just flippant about it. He was joking about it. And I do feel like in the 80s, it was more acceptable, but the athlete cannot dabble in cocaine in any way without being a pariah. Here's Dennis Quaid's response when we were talking to him about his cocaine usage. Cocaine in the 70s. Give it up.
It was cocaine in the 70s and the 80s, and gave it up in the 90s.
Okay. Okay. So it was two strong. It was two strong decades. Now, did you? Was there a dark period, or was it fun?
Oh, it was fun. Then it was fun with problems, and then it was just problems.
But he talked about it very flippantly, and so here's Lamar Odom talking about cocaine in the Players Tribune. Rick James said it best, cocaine is a hell of a drug. It's a hell of a drug. It will make you do things you never thought you'd do. It will turn you into a different person. It will put you in situations where you say to yourself, how the bleep did I get here? When I was in that hospital bed, I kept asking myself that question. I kept thinking about all the people in my life who aren't here anymore. Mostly I thought about my mother. My dad wasn't really around when I was a kid. He had his own problems with addiction, but my mother was my best friend in the world. She was just so caring. My first memory in life is hearing the sound of her voice. She had these really wide eyes and a real soft voice. If we were at a family party, everybody would ask me, Lamar, where's your mother? Where's Kathy? Where's Kathy? She was like the center of the universe in Jamaica, Queens. I remember when I started playing Pee Wee football, I was already big as hell. I could take care of myself, but I got hit on this one play, and I was just dinged up a little bit. I'm on the ground for 6/7 or 7 seconds max, and just as I'm about to get up, I hear my mom's voice. She's running from the sideline out onto the field, sprinting, yelling, talk to me, baby. Mooka, talk to me. That was her nickname for me. She gets to me, and I'm like, Mom, what are you doing? Are you crazy? I mean, this is New York City. Everybody's looking at me like, yo, come on, man. She says, Mooka, are you okay? What hurts? I said, Mom, I'm fine. Get the hell off the field. She's like, okay, I'm going. I just got to make sure you're all right. Then she went back to the sidelines like it was nothing. That was my mother. She always had my back. When I was 12 years old, she got sick. I knew she had colon cancer, but I didn't really know how bad it was. She kind of kept it from me to protect me. I just remember that she went into the hospital for a while, and when I went to visit her, it seemed like she was getting smaller, like she was disappearing. You know what I mean? One day when my grandmother was driving me home from the hospital, she said, you know, your mother's probably going to pass away soon. I just want you to be ready. That day that she passed away, I remember going to see her, and I remember how the cancer had just ravaged her body. Like, if I could go back to that time and you could put me in that room, I probably wouldn't even recognize who she was. Her face was so small, and she was bleeding out of her mouth, and she kept saying, Mooka. I just sat right next to her bed, and one of the last things she said to me, I still think about it every day. She said, be nice to everybody, Mook. I didn't think anything can prepare you for losing your mother at 12 years old. It leaves a mark on you. I don't care how strong you think you are. The only reason I was able to get through that time was because of my grandmother and because of basketball. Those two things protected me. On the day my mother died, I went straight to the park to play ball. It was all I wanted to do. It was an escape for me. I remember the news had started to get around the neighborhood about my mom, and people started showing up at the court. Then more people. After a while, the whole block was out there with me. I had this feeling like I'm going to be all right. It's going to be all right. Your grandmother has your back. Your neighborhood has your back. God has your back. So go on. Get on with it. Keep going till you get your suit and you shake that old man's hand. Is that stern? See, I used to have this vision in my head from the time I was 10 years old. I could already see David Stern up at the podium calling my name, saying what team I was going to, and me kissing my family. I could already see it.
It's Stern.
Thank you, Mr. Gott. You might think that being a kid from New York City with drugs all around all the time, that my problems started a long time ago, or that they started when I got drafted by Los Angeles. But that wasn't the case. I never wanted to touch anything stronger than marijuana. I definitely never touched cocaine. I actually looked down on it. I didn't try it until I was 24 years old. Oh, of course.
Oh,
of
no.
Course. Miami got it.
Yep.
Of course.
Yep.
Of course. Of course.
Miami's fault.
Yeah. When I was on summer vacation in Miami. And I wish I could tell you there was a reason for it. There wasn't. It was just an asinine decision I made. If I knew that it was going to affect my life the way it did, I never would have thought about it. Never. But I did it. It turned out to be a life-altering decision. I think that's one of the things that people lose sight of when it comes to addictive personalities. The mistake isn't in having your life ruined because you can't control the addiction. The mistake is at the very start, not knowing yourself well enough to know that if you have addictive tendencies, you need to make sure that cocaine is never near your face.
Right. Hard at
Like,
24, though, man.
I know, but the first time is the worst time. Like the first time, if you have an addictive personality, you're headed toward a hellhole. Right around that same time, my grandmother passed away. I lost a lot of family members in a short period of time. Let me ask you this question, Stugatz. Is the context here something that matters to you, or do you think it's excuse-making? Like we're getting into here, the reason he's going into his family life, he's talking about basically being an orphan at 12 years old.
Oh, no, the context absolutely matters, in my opinion, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because a lot of people are going to dismiss all of this as excuse-making. You wasted your life, you wasted your talents, you wasted your money, you did this because you're dumb, you're an idiot. A lot of people are going to do that.
And I would say those people are dumb.
Would you? Okay, because
Yes.
there is generally a lack. I wouldn't call those people dumb. I would say that there's a lack of empathy and that there might be some envy involved there because Lamar Odom had all these things that he threw away and you would have liked those things and you find yourself to be somebody or you fancy yourself to be somebody who would value those things and would treat them with more care.
No question about it. But there are things, and in this particular case, the context certainly matters that kind of led Lamar Odom to that day in Miami where he was 24 and tried cocaine.
Well, there's more. There's more. Right around the same time my grandmother passed away, I lost a lot of family members in a short period of time. When I did coke, I felt good for a minute. I stopped having so much anxiety. I didn't think about the pain. I didn't think about death, so I kept doing it more and more, but I was still in control. It wasn't like an everyday thing. Then, about 2 years later, I got a phone call that changed my life. Summer of 2006. I had been partying all night and I hadn't gone home. My son Jaden was 6 months old at the time. He was at home in his crib. I should have been at home with him, but I was out doing whatever. Early in the morning, I got a call from his mother. She was panicking. I was like, yo, calm down. What's wrong? And she said, Jaden, he won't wake up. I said, he won't wake up? She said, yeah, the ambulance is here. They're taking him now. I was in Manhattan. I had to drive all the way to Long Island. When I got to the hospitals, the doctors just told me he's not responding. They said he's gone. I said, gone? What are you talking about? I just seen him. Gone? Man, my son was vivacious, real lively. Whenever I used to walk into a room, he would just be like, look at me. He would just stare. Of course, he couldn't talk, but he just used to stare. He used to use his eyes a lot, let me know he kind of understood. Like, yeah, that's my dad. What's up, Dad? I just seen him. Now he's gone? How the bleep is that even possible? How can he be gone? I walked in the hospital room and the hurt on his mother's face, I'll never forget that. How she couldn't believe it. 6 months old, gone. He'd be 11 now. man, these people at the Players Tribune do a really good job with the reporting on these things and writing them. I understand, reading this, I understand why you would go to the Players Tribune, because they're offering you the context of how it is that you get to the point where fans are judging you for being an idiot, but the humanizing details.
Yes.
Like, it could be excuse making. Like, you're welcome to think that this is all excuse making. But the context matters, man. And, like, if you've got something that is making you, even for a minute, soothe the pain of, I lost my 6-month-old, I lost my mother, I lost anybody who's ever cared about me, and I've lost basketball.
Right. You got to go to that thing, man.
I mean, a lot of people are.
Yep.
A lot of people are going to go to the thing that takes them away for 5 minutes. You can check out that article at the Players Tribune. I think you guys are officially done and tired of me reading.
Can you read what Seth Meyers is up to next?
I cannot.
Oh.
Now to the good stuff.
Teased it 2 days ago.
We got to update our 44 polls next.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Don Batard.
If you watched the interview last night that he did with Al Troutwig, I believe. He was a fossil, by the way. Anyway, if you...
Why did you take out Al Troutwig?
Troutwig, please. Oh, seriously. Well polished Al Troutwig. I got issues with Al Troutwig that go way, way back. Way back. Way back.
Go on?
I just don't like the guy, man.
Stugats.
Put this on the poll. When I say the name Al Troutwig, do you imagine him wearing a wig made out of trout?
This is the Don Batard Show with the Stugats on ESPN Radio.
All right, time to update the polls that make fun of daily sports radio polls. I believe we have 23 or 24 of them today. The poll of the day, 24 of them. What do you have, Stugats?
Twitter poll is brought to you by Upside. Now say big on travel and get a big gift card every trip you buy. You'll love Upside.com. That's Upside.com. At Le Batard Show on Twitter. Did you know that on-deck circles move? Did you hear this story? Beltray moved the on-deck circle. I had no idea. Did you know that the on-deck circle moves?
No.
I didn't either. 65% of the audience said no. Is a koala bear a bear? 52% of the audience, nearly 7,000 votes, Mike. This was good information by you. 52% of the audience said no.
No, it's not a bear. An ice cream sandwich is not a sandwich, and a koala bear is not a bear.
Is the bear wheel a great idea?
Oh, we got to explain the bear wheel.
Yeah, I think Guillermo should probably explain
Can you guys hurry up? We've got 20 of these to get
through. 53% of the audience said no.
You need the proper context. So, Billy?
The bear wheel, a caller called in and suggested essentially it's a wheel with different types of bears on it. And in a baseball game, you'd go to the bear wheel, you spin the wheel.
Next poll, please. Thank you.
And whatever it lands on is...
Next poll. Thank you. Thank you. Next poll. Yeah, you guys were fixing baseball. Yeah, next poll, please.
Bear Bryant was one.
Thank you.
Bear Bryant, but he's dead. Are lakes murky?
You're unbearable. Go!
Hey, hold on a sec. Hold on.
You mother. You mother. Oh, I want control of that tomorrow. I don't want you to ever be near that button again. I get that control. Tomorrow.
Are lakes murky? 87% of the audience said yes.
What the hell were you guys doing before I got here?
No idea. Do you mind the slippery stuff at the bottom of a lake?
Oh, for the love of God.
70% of the audience said yes.
Hurry up.
Do you judge men who take their shoes off to dance at a wedding? 83% of the audience said yes.
Really? Okay.
I don't even know how to pronounce this, Mike. Do you judge patasuiasas?
Patasucia.
Okay. 51% of the audience said no.
That's Spanish for dirty feet.
Okay.
How much of the audience? You got to judge dirty feet. What's the matter with you sloths?
51% of the audience said no. Do you judge women who take their shoes off to dance at a wedding? 69% of the audience said no.
Nice.
Was Arash right?
What?
It's a caller. 56% of the audience said no. He said something. We were debating whether he was right.
We had so many polls.
Yeah.
What did you guys do in the first hour of the show?
Crowdsource?
Is Chauncey Billups' Windsor knot too big?
Okay.
That's what Arash was talking about.
Yeah, he was right. 74% of the audience said yes, so Arash was right. Was Arash right about Ben Wallace? Thought Ben Wallace should have been the MVP finals instead of Chauncey. And 52% of the audience said yes. Are you surprised that John Jones hasn't felt the need to speak to Dana White or answer his calls. 63% of the audience said no.
All right, we're at Dan's now.
We're in the second hour of the show.
Is the name Ira Newble a black name? 54% of the audience said no.
Ooh, tight.
Did Darius Miles have broad shoulders?
That's ridiculous.
I don't think so.
51% of the audience said no.
I mean,
but at least we know we're on to something.
No,
potentially.
you're not on to something. You're not on to anything.
Well, 49 said yes.
Just keep it moving.
You have a minute to fit in 17 more.
Are there a lot of people in
Darius to the finish line.
All right. Hold on a second.
You mother! Hurry up!
Are there a lot of people in our audience who don't know who Rick Ross is? 51% of the audience said no. Scrolling up. Big fat white face. Allison, weird sweatshirt. How much would you pay to hear the conversations that Melo is having with LeBron about Melo blocking trades to Cleveland? 67% said under $99.99.
Faster.
Do you like Allison's sweater? Never happened before.
No way.
50-50.
Wow, we don't have time to celebrate. Go.
Is Adam Silver sincere when he says he feels bad for Cleveland? 72% of the audience said no.
Hurry.
Faster.
Bill Gates bothered that Jeff Bezos has passed him as the world's richest
You're
man?
not speaking faster.
51
You're just
says
speaking
no.
louder.
Do you hate thin crust pizza? 65 said no. Is it barbecue chicken without onions? 54 said yes.
More.
Hurry!
What the hell with the black olives on pizza? 59 said exactly.
Yes!
Too many polls today. No!
Yeah!
Hi, everyone. Stu Gatz here. Support for the Dan Le Batard Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, and your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Stugotz, STUGOTZ, equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
Okay, keep your eyes closed.
Okay.
I want to show you my first ever painting.
All right.
Okay. Open your eyes.
Oh, that's a lot of colors and shapes.
So be honest. What do you think?
Well, I like how if you switch to Geico, you could save hundreds of dollars on car insurance.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Here, why don't I hold your paintbrush while you call them?
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.